Hello, everybody, and Merry Christmas to you, and Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy whatever holiday is going on in your life, in your heart. In my family, we have something that we made up called December Day. Happy that to us as well.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is the best day of any to say this would not be the Common Good Radio Show if I did not give grace to the person who most deserves it first. If I did not, for the 160 something time now, put God first when we started the radio show, by thanking him for all the blessings that he's put in our lives, for one, just our group of friends that we have, for another year gone by that we got to do a radio show that me and you got to hang out here in studio
I know,
every
man.
week.
Yeah.
And none of that would be possible if it wasn't for a great God. I'm going to thank him this week, just like I do most weeks, with the Lord's Prayer. It goes a little something like this. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive those, and forgive us for our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, so, man 1 year down, brother.
I know, man.
Yeah.
Time's flying,
It's
and I'm
flying.
having fun.
That's what makes it all worth it.
Right.
Whether it's us doing this radio show, the amazing work that we both do, trying to help people. Next Thursday, us playing basketball, no matter who wins.
I know.
All that matters is that we're having fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. And speaking of having fun, we certainly have a new and old friend here in studio with us. That's super fun. Great energy.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing person. Does amazing work. I've learned a lot about her, about the work that she does, about the kind of the amazing power group that she's part of, and definitely look forward to learn a lot more, not only through this show, but just in general. Because I definitely, I feel like God has not only called you and I, to do a lot of amazing stuff together, but people like herself to kind of be in our sphere and us to be in their sphere for us to do amazing things together.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Phyllis Hunter with Operation Prosperity. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's been there we go. I gotta get used to
there
this
you
thing.
are.
There I am. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here today. It's an amazing experience to get to come in and, I've watched some of your guys' live feeds and feeds on social media, and now to be in the studio with you guys. Oh man.
It's the real deal.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
you're here now in the hot seat. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess, for John Q. Public, I'm Jonathan Lee McLean, Q Public here, who's never heard of Operation Prosperity before. What is Operation Prosperity?
So Operation Prosperity is a faith-based nonprofit organization where, we just want to make an impact in the youth and impact the future by pouring and mentoring into the youth. And a way that we do that is we partner with business owners such as yourself, small to medium-sized businesses, as a way to be able to give back. So it started 20 years ago, and although I wasn't there when it started, when I took over as the president last year, the mission and the vision really spoke to me. Very near and dear to my heart. It was a vision that I've had since I was a young kid, just didn't know what that vision was or the clarity behind it. So now knowing what Operation Prosperity is, it's a way for us to be able to give back and build up our future and our community by tapping into the youth of today, because they're our future. So it's an exciting experience. I definitely love the work that we do. It started, like I said, 20 years ago, but it started with my senior pastor, who wasn't a pastor back then. He was just a guy getting out of the military, wanting to, figure out life, figure out what was his purpose, what was his vision. And he started at United Gospel Fellowship under the mentorship of Pastor McSwain. And it was it started out as a newspaper. Most people know it as Super Shine, which is still in existence till today. It's a hand detailing service, right, for vehicles. But it started with a newspaper. As a way to be able to, one, build community, make sure people were getting the word out there about a lot of these mom and pop businesses that were coming up, but also, too, to help fund the church and the many things that they wanted to do with the community. And
it sounds a lot like the Common Good radio show.
Yeah.
It's, I feel like there's a lot of organizations who they may do things differently, but the ultimate goal is to serve the community. And so, that's what it's all about, is how can we serve our community and make it better? God has called us to be servant leaders, and he's called us to be in fellowship and in communion with one another. And so, how many of us realize that if we would have known what our vision or our purpose was over our life at 16, 17, 18, we'd be a lot further along than where we are now. So that's what it's all about.
So explain to us, I guess, some of the services or some of the functions of Operation Prosperity and what you guys do.
Absolutely. So I like to call it a twofold ministry.
Nice.
We, again, like I said, we partner with businesses. We have memberships where business owners can get networking. We provide networking opportunities for them through the events that we do monthly. Also to, providing classes with, hey, people are coming and they're speaking about, how can you do your taxes? How can you, as a business owner, what about sales? How do we do those kind of things? Those are things that we need that are necessary for our businesses to run. But the reason why we do that is because of our passion, which is helping the youth. And so we provide mentorship and apprenticeship, and our mission is LVPP, which stands for Leadership, Vision, Purpose, and Prosperity. Okay. So ultimately, our goal is to mentor and train up the youth of today for tomorrow's prosperity and abundance by developing the leaders, helping them clarify their vision, helping them discover what their purpose is in life. So that way, as they get older, they're walking in prosperity a lot sooner than any of us will ever have.
And what is that process? What does that an event look like?
Yeah, so we do all kinds of events. When we first started, I'm gonna tell you guys, I was all over the place with, we got to do this, we got to do that.
Yeah, all of us caring people are.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more I just started to tune in with God's vision and God's purpose, and what does this look like? And He says partnerships. And so don't reinvent the wheel. So what we do is we partner with other organizations like yourself. We recently had an event at the Quincy Douglas Center where, over 1,000 some odd people came and their kids got to see Santa and got to receive gifts. And we gave out free clothes and free food. And, these are things that people need. The teens, we have a teen group. And so they meet once a month and they do something different. The goal is that they are able to take biblical practices, biblical lessons, and turn it into practical application. And so we get them together, with people and with other teens, like-minded individuals. They get to, have mentorship through the partnerships that we develop. And then, of course, our community outreach. So we feed homeless.
We'll talk about that and much more after the break. We got Phyllis Hunter here with Operation Prosperity. And my buddy Andres tell us something as we head out.
So coming in January, I'm going to be launching my third book called Do It Now, Secrets to Overcome Procrastination. So if you're interested in getting a copy when it comes out on January 30th, it will be available for 99 cents that day. And if you'd like to get your copy, it'll be on Amazon. You can send me a DM and I'll add you to the list to make sure that I get that link to you. And this is the Common Good Radio Show, brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, welcome back, all you beautiful people sitting next to the what is it? I want to say the campfire because when we did a show earlier, not the campfire. What is it? Here. It's the
fireplace.
The fireplace. There we go. Yeah, sitting next to the fireplace on your bearskin rug, eating some popcorn, watching some football
with your Snuggie.
Yeah, and your Snuggie.
Like this still exists.
I'm sure it has a new name now, but. Yeah. Well, welcome back to the Common Good Radio Show on this amazing Christmas day. I hope you got exactly what you asked for from Santa. Hope you got that bicycle without the training wheels like you deserve.
Yeah. I know.
I am Pastor John McClain here with Andreas Ruiz of I Believe in Myself Coaching and Speaking. I realized we didn't even say who we were at the beginning of the last part. We just got excited about our guest.
Yeah, we did.
She's just so awesome, and she has so much stuff to talk about, particularly Operation Prosperity. We got Phyllis Hunter here in studio with us, and before we left, she was talking about some of the awesome work they do, particularly the teen program and the different functions they do. And I think like the words that we left off on before I cut you off was homeless, and then you're talking about, I think, the work that they're doing helping the homeless, something of that nature.
Yeah, so the goal is that the teens they're learning who they are.
Mhm.
They're learning who they were created to be, and they're also learning how to give back. It's important that we learn how to give back to our community. As God blesses us, we bless others.
Mhm.
And so we do a lot of different events, and a lot of the events that we've done in the past are ideas that the teens have come up with themselves.
Mhm.
And so they're like, well, what do we want to do this month? Well, last month we made, or December, earlier this month, we did a celebrity, you guys know the celebrity cook-off shows, right? Well, they wanted to get into the kitchen, and they wanted to bake. And I was like, you know what? We got to have a bake-off.
That's
so
cool.
the video is going to be coming out on our YouTube channel, so I'm really excited about that.
That's cool.
But they got a lesson, and the lesson was that we run the race to win. Everyone has their own race, right? And so we as Christ followers, we run the race for the eternal life, which is our eternal prize. And so with everything that you do, you give your best. You do it to win, right? To please God, right? So they had a challenge. They got to meet with a professional chef.
Oh, nice.
They had all the safety rules and all that different stuff, but then they get to go in the kitchen, and they're partnered up with like 2 or 3 teens in a group. So it's about
cool.
4 or 5 groups that were there.
Nice.
And they had to create, like, they had to really think about what is it that we want our cupcakes to look like. Then they had to mix them and bake them and decorate them, and then
Nice.
go before a panel of judges. And so they were judged off of their presentation, how well they were able to work together, and then obviously, does it taste good? And I just remember this one young lady who she's 12 years old, okay, because we start out at 12. She's 12 years old, and
Nice.
she's 12, and her mom says that she had a decision to make between going to the school dance and going to the teen night.
Oh, wow.
And she says, Mom, she had been talking about wanting to be on some kind of celebrity cook-off show, because she loves to cook with her mom since she was little. And so she says, this is going to be my only opportunity. It may be my only
last
opportunity. And so she came, and her partner, who she had never met before, these are different teens that come from different places.
Cool.
And the teen that she was partnered with, her best friend is a member of our organization, one of the founding teens. So we have founding teens too, which is really awesome.
Nice.
And so this was her first time coming too, and she's like, we're gonna win. She's like, I know I'm going against my best friend, but we're gonna win. Those 2 girls got together, and they walked in there with such confidence, and they baked their butts off, and they had the most simplest cupcake. And when the judges asked, why'd you create it? And they said, we wanted to just get back to the basics. And I'm just like, for these, this was a 16-year-old girl and a 12-year-old girl partnered together. And these are the lessons that we're teaching them is, let's get back to the basics of who we are and who God created us to be. And let's run our race with our very best. And that's what they did. And that's exactly why they won. So we're looking forward to more events like that. We've got another event coming up in January, the second Friday of the month, and they're going to be making vision boards. So we're going to be talking about, the scripture tells us, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, right? So, and so that who sees it runs towards that. And so I feel like a lot of people misinterpret that scripture. So we're going to be teaching them, what is the vision that you have? What are the goals that you have in 2023? Let's make it as simple and as clear as possible. And now let's put it up where we can see it daily, so that it's the daily activities that get us to the success that we want to see. So these are the concepts that we're teaching them, again, taking biblical principle and turning it into practical application. And we're able to fund these events and different things like that because of the partnerships that we have with local entrepreneurs and business owners like yourselves.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good stuff that you're teaching the kids, like, public speaking, communications, leadership, confidence. And I mean, this is what needs to get done for the kids to be prosperous. And I love the name of your organization, the Operation Prosperity. From what you've seen, with these kids, like what are some success stories that you've seen just like by being there with these youth and the people that you serve that you can talk about? I mean, I bet you have a lot of them.
We do. We get a lot of experiences. They definitely touch my heart every day. I've seen, some of these teens really come out of their shell. We had a gentleman who was completely shy, didn't talk to anyone, always walked with his head down. And, going into church, which is something that our youth don't really do nowadays. But, he was he's in our church. And so we partnered him with a local entrepreneur that was actually founded because of Operation Prosperity over 10 years ago. And they do videography. So they, record videos and edit videos and things like that for other businesses. And so he got involved with that. And I mean, within a short period of time, he was walking with his head held high. He's now running the media team at our church, and he could do it by himself.
Wow.
The bake-off, he doesn't like to be in front of the camera, but the entire bake-off, he recorded everything. We had brought in, a professional team, a business that we're up and coming working with now, so we're working on building that partnership.
So you're saying we won't be having him in studio with us?
We need to. I'm gonna put it in his ear. I'm gonna put it in his ear. But those are, it's just things that we see like that, and again, like that, another one like that young lady that I told you about, she had tears. When she said that this was maybe my only opportunity, and she went after it despite what her friends were doing, that just showed me, her ability to want to, something means so much to you that despite what others, this is what I have to do, right? So the Bible talks about, Jesus says, I'm about my Father's business, right? Don't you know I'm about my Father's business? She had a place to be, and she showed up, and not only that, but she gave it her all, and she won.
Wow.
We had another young lady.
One second. But speaking of your father's business, Operation Prosperity, how can people volunteer? How can people get involved? How can people donate? How can our listening audience out there get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have Facebook, Operation Prosperity. We have a new Instagram. I'm getting the organization to go into social media. We're in the 21st century now.
Good.
Yeah, we are building our YouTube channel. But the quickest way, honestly, is either through Facebook or our website, www.operationprosperity.org. You can, our number is on there as well as the address. You can email us from there, see any upcoming events, anything like that.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Thank you
Good
for
job.
having me.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
Well, you make it exciting. So
That's Phyllis
Good
Hunter
job.
with Operation Prosperity. Go to operationprosperity.org for more information about the amazing work that they're doing. Also, if you haven't been to veteranrescuemission.org yet, check it out. We got information about the radio show, about all the awesome work that we do in trying to connect homeless veterans to housing and the plethora of things. We're also, right now, big call out we're doing for vehicles. We have a couple veterans that need vehicles to get to their appointments, get to their jobs, get to the things that they need to do. And the bus isn't going to be free anymore after January 1st. So any help that you can do, go to veteranrescuemission.org to help out. We'll be back right after this break. Yes, indeed. As that young man just said, this is the Common Good Radio Show brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission, highlighting the good in the community. I am Pastor John McLean here with Andreas Ruiz of I Believe in Myself Coaching and Speaking. And we're like a pair, man. We've been doing this together for a while.
I know.
We're like
It's
the
been
1-2
almost
punch.
like 3 years. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And the craziest thing about that is pretty much since we started doing this lady that's sitting here in between us has been supporting us, in the organization that she's with. They've helped make this show possible and help kind of carry us on. So let me say thank you and welcome Tian Kennedy with Gap Ministries.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, so that may not seem that long ago, but isn't it wild to think, Tian, that almost 3 years ago I reached out to you and I was like, hey, I've been volunteering with Chef John in the kitchen for a while, and I'm starting this talk radio show, and I'd love for you guys to be on, and I want to promote you guys. I love you guys already because I'm there volunteering, and you're like,
no,
yeah,
I
let's
can't
check it
believe
out.
it's been 3 years. I
Yeah.
really can't. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right before everything went crazy.
Yeah. So thank you for that, for
Yeah.
believing in us and trusting in us, and a lot of ways becoming a pillar of the Common Good Radio Show.
I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So for, our listening audience that hadn't tuned in the past, 27 to 36 months times that we've had you guys on the show, what is Gap Ministries?
Gap Ministries is a social service agency. First of all, I like to say that because so many people hear Gap Ministries and they're like, is it a church?
Mm.
I had one guy say, I thought it was one of those TV ministries. So, our goal is to serve people. It started with, serving the widow, the orphan, the hungry, and the naked, and to get out in our community and be the church, really.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, we are the church. We're just a social services church.
Mm-hmm.
We partner with lots of people in the faith community, and we started with foster kids. And we like to say that we are trying to break cycles of poverty and abuse. So that we don't want to be just a Band-Aid approach. We could be caring for foster kids from now till Jesus returns.
Mm-hmm.
But what can we do to maybe slow down the kids coming into foster care? So we have programs based on that we're doing, like the kitchen, like the warehouse, to maybe meet the needs of families that could be in crisis before it gets to that point where they just fall apart and kids end up with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, after kids are already in foster care, what are we doing in the community to help people to get back on their feet, to be reunited as a family if they could? And we have several programs for that, plus the culinary, the career training has been something that's been really, it's really impacted.
You can't just call it culinary training
No,
anymore.
I
There's
know.
just so many training programs.
Right.
Huh? Yeah.
But that's been neat to see how that touched the foster system. That a lot of people coming out of incarceration were foster kids, or they have kids in foster care. So we've seen a lot of our people that graduate who are able to get their kids back, get reunited, get a job, get a career, and that's been encouraging.
That's amazing. It's so inspiring. I mean, every time I hear you talk about it, Pastor Ayers, Pastor Jason Ayers, Chef John, Matt Clower, like all you guys that come on, it's just like, it's so inspiring for me, somebody, a young man that's started his own nonprofit, that's morphed into a social service organization, because, much like, Greg Ayers talks about when he comes on the show, is just, God just called him and he listened. When we all kind of, growing up, we have a certain idea of, what a church is, or what direction we're supposed to do based off our family members and our friends and those that are around us. But once you actually listen to what God calls you to do, like miracles and amazing things happen. And I know I feel challenged, starting a church that I expected it to be a certain thing, but God called me to do a lot of social work, and like you're saying, to fill in those gaps, so that way I'm not just helping homeless people till the cows come home, but I'm actually watching people go from being at the worst place in their life to working next side me and helping the next group of people come along.
Right. Which is our goal. I mean, we want to impact lives and change lives, and and we know that Jesus is the center of that. It's without God, it really is a lot of Band-Aid for a lot of the things that are going on out there. But with people, when they really get it in their head that there is a God that loves them and cares about them and has a plan for their lives, and it can really change the way they look at things.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talked about how, like John was mentioning that, God called them to do this type of work. Like, for yourself personally, have you always had that in your heart, or were you called like one day to just do this type of work? How did you?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it is really a God story, because I stayed home with kids for a number of years. I was a buyer in a resort. That's what I did before. And another organization in town, Christian Family Care, had an ad for somebody to run their thrift store or to come help with it. And I thought, well, I could do that. I ran $1 million resort. After staying home with kids, you kind of think, well, I don't know what I could do. And I started there, and then really found that I was really good. My degree in college was advertising, but I hadn't done it for many, many years. But I found that I was really good at, talking to people, doing booths, writing grants, kind of the PR part of things. And Greg and Pam met me through some things we were doing and asked me if I wanted to come work for them. And that was 11 years ago.
Wow.
And it has just been a blessing because it's one of those things where God took my talents and used them perfectly for him. When I was going to go back to work, I was looking at social service things. Like, I wish I could do something to help people, but I don't have a social services degree. And it was just, I would have never gone out and said, oh, I could work for a nonprofit and do PR and grant writing. You know, I mean, it's a total God match because, and when I first started, I always used to feel kind of like a poser because people would say, oh, what you do is so great. You know, I really love what you do. And I thought, well, I don't do it. I just tell people about what other people at Gap do. That's my job. But then after Chef John came and, you know, he uses his culinary skills to serve the kingdom, it's just like, well, God's got me in a place that I'm good at and he uses me. And so it's really a blessing. So thanks for asking that.
No,
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And we'll hear about all that and more after the break. This is the Common Good Radio Show brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. If you haven't been to gapmin.org, go ahead and check it out. That's where you can hear more about this amazing organization, Gap Ministries. This is definitely
it's actually .com.
.com. Okay. And this is end of the year tax credit time. Very important. If you want to donate, definitely now is the time. gapmin.com. We'll be back right after this break. The Common Good Radio Show brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. I'm Pastor John here with Andres Ruiz. Hello, everybody, and Merry Christmas once again, and a Happy New Year. This is the Common Good Radio Show brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. I am Pastor John McClain, trying to give you a little extra holiday spirit this very special Christmas day, and I hope that you're there with your family, you're being close, you're sharing love. Remember, this is supposed to be a happy time. Don't get too stressed. It's not that serious, people. You know, it's all about the love, and let's not forget how much God loves you. Let's not forget the reason for the season and all that other fun stuff. So enjoy your day as we're going to enjoy our day with our family. I definitely am here in studio with some amazing people, with one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Mr. Andres Ruiz. So you get to go home and kiss your family and have fun. And then we have an amazing woman who's become definitely a close friend over years. We've been friends now. T.N. Kennedy with Gap Ministries. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And before we went to the break, we were talking about just kind of, which it's hard to like even touch a department, you know, speak to everything in the department of Gap Ministries, nonetheless, to cover everything that Gap Ministries does. But we were talking about a little bit about that before we got here, and then also Tian being the head of PR for Gap Ministries. We're talking about how she went from, you know, helping, you know, run in a way a $1 million hotel to, you know, just trying out, working out the thrift store that Gap Ministries ran, to, you know, being in my opinion, a pivotal part of the success of Gap Ministries.
It's truly God. He's just using my skills. It's crazy.
Yeah, and to that note, I mean, like you were talking about, whether it's Chef John or probably Matt Clower or, you know, even, you know, Greg Ayers or yourself, it's just like God gives us all talents, and it's all up to us whether we want to use those talents to fulfill his calling or not.
Right.
Like that, you know, that's really what it's about. Yeah.
And they're all important. We forget that too sometimes. You know, some seem better than others, but they all matter. And if we're listening, or stepping into those, I always think, you know, somebody was Billy Graham's second grade Sunday school teacher. Nobody knows her name. Nobody thinks anything of it, but she obeyed God's call and taught Sunday school, or, you know, whatever. There's all those people doing things that seem, we always want some big major purpose in life, but it's not always like that.
Yeah.
And when you talk about, like, you know, just having a team of people that you work with, you know, you can't do it by yourself. And it seems like Greg, he put together this amazing team. And how do you feel like with his leadership and putting this team together, how has that helped make this company, I mean, this organization, become what has it become today?
You know, that's a great question.
He asks good questions.
He does.
Yeah, I like
I mean,
this guy.
Greg is such an easy person to work for. He is the most non-micromanager person I've ever had as a boss, and so full of grace. You know, the couple times in the 11 years I've been there, I've done something that I, was probably out of line. I spoke up. I wrote a letter that was like kind of rude or whatever. Just something like nothing major, but
Yeah.
and he
But
said,
you're
Tian,
human. You're
yeah,
flawed.
he's like,
Yeah.
if I didn't know your heart, I'd be a little bit upset by that. But you just need to tone it down or whatever. Because I used to get kind of like fiery about. He couldn't care less if Gap got any attention. Like we could be partnering with other people, and Gap wouldn't even be, on
Mentioned
the
at all.
flyer. He's fine with that. But he had hired me as PR. I'm like, hey, why are we at the bottom and they're at the top and we're doing everything? That kind of a thing. But he does really look at each person that works at Gap, from the directors and the people to everybody, that this is a calling. God's called you. This is your ministry. And you're it's almost, instead of having a boss that you answer to, you answer to God. I've felt that more times than, he's not pressing me to make all the money that we need to make at Gap. And we've grown big, and we do make a lot. We need to make a lot of money to run that place. But I've never once felt any pressure, never once felt any like, what are you going to do this year? Nothing. It's totally like he just trusts it's God, and you do what God calls you to do, and everybody there is doing what God calls them to do. He recently had that conversation with Matt Clower because things have been changing at the warehouse, and said, I need you to write up how you see this, your ministry, your area going. And Matt's like, well, what do you want? What you typically, like, what do you want me to do? And I'll do it. He's like, no. No, you tell me where God's leading you, what you think God's wanting you to do in this area, and then we'll discuss it, which,
that's beautiful.
what a freedom.
Yeah. Particularly for Matt. I mean, Matt's my golf buddy, and, he's been another good friend through Gap for so many years. And, so I know his heart. I know we've had many conversations where he certainly wants to fill up that passion bucket and that value bucket the best that he possibly can. And to see that, I'm sure Greg sees that as well. And he's like, well, here's the space. Tell me what you want.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it isn't about the services and all those things that we're doing. Those are important. But at the end of the day, it's the people and it's the relationships. Like, we know that's what's eternal. And I'll tell you, that's one thing that Matt does so well, is has all these people that work, volunteers that come in to get some help and stay. And stay like 40 hours a week helping him. And then they're calling and getting dog food because they see a need from the other people in need. I mean, he really does minister to the people. He does.
And it's just, I think kind of just in the culture of Gap Ministries, it's just, you just want to hang around you guys, whether it's Greg or Jason or Matt or Chef John or even yourself. Like when I saw you in studio a couple weeks ago on the I Am Real Estate show, it tickled me, having you here. It feels so good because just your character, your energy, your modality, it all just feels good, and people want to be around.
It's a good group, and sometimes when you work in Christian, like you work in a church or whatever, you sometimes get like a little disheartened, like, wow, we're real people and we fight with each other or whatever. But I have to say, 11 years of being there, I have never felt, everybody's so, there's a lot of grace, a lot of acceptance. There's just not any kind of infighting, or everybody's, I don't know, it's a wonderful place to work. I feel very fortunate.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I've certainly considered applying there on a couple occasions just because I love the place so much. But
You've got your own mission that God's got you doing.
Yeah, God's got me busy. He got me definitely plenty busy right now. So I guess kind of in that same note, what are some upcoming events that you guys haven't, or places pretty much that the public can plug in right now that you have some serious need?
That's a good question. We're pretty much set for Christmas, I'd say. We've gotten some really generous, people sponsoring. We're going to be doing a big Defy, like it's a jumping, I don't know, I don't remember.
Trampoline.
Yeah, trampolines. We're going to do a party with all the staff, all the kids. We never get to do that where everybody gets to be there.
That's awesome.
And there's some people underwrote that, so that's pretty cool.
And you just had a Christmas party recently where you had like a gazillion presents you were giving out to the kids and everything.
Yeah, we're doing that. We're doing Christmas, so we've got the Christmas stuff going on. So that's pretty good. The biggest thing is just the kitchen. It's really hit a bump. So much more expensive than we thought it would be, and the prices just keep going up. And and getting out of that old leased property and getting someplace until we can get the kitchen built. That's the biggest thing we've got going at Gap. And I'd say pretty disappointing for Greg because he really feels like God called us to do that. And it's like, wonder why we're not getting it moved, this year like everything else. So prayers, we'd appreciate prayers, finance,
Absolutely.
of course, but just prayer is the right place to go temporarily until we can get the kitchen built out. And going to be doing some things. I want to do a fundraiser where we have John cook some things and people, I don't know, I got to think of some fun things like that where people would benefit. They come and help raise money for the kitchen, but they also get to eat. And so I got to think of something like that.
For
But
sure.
We're going to do another open house in April.
Okay.
Whatever Arizona Gives Day is this year. I think it's April 4th. It's a Tuesday.
Okay.
We're going to do another open house so everybody can see. We had one last year and people could see it when it was just getting going. And now they'll get to see almost the whole campus done except for the kitchen.
Okay. So for the people that, can't, obviously go to gapmin. Excuse me. Got a horse in my throat there. Got gapmin.com to donate. But for people who, don't have the money to donate, want to volunteer their time, where's some good places for them to plug in at?
Well, Matt, it doesn't even require anybody to, fill out anything ahead of him. He says just show up in our business hours, which is like 9 to 3 at the warehouse, Monday through Friday, and he'll put them to use. He'll make them fill out some paperwork after they come, but that's one place they can come and help. We are moving the warehouse right now, so it's a little, don't go right now.
Yeah.
Wait till the new year because then we'll be over to the new campus.
Nice.
But that's one place we can always use help. We definitely need staff all the time. So if you love kids, like serving, working with kids, we're always like our support staff. We're always it's just we always need more people. It's not easy, and I have to admit, when you're competing with In-N-Out Burger paying $19.50 an hour, it's not like we can pay a lot. We get paid what the state pays, but there's a lot of rewards to it.
Yeah.
And developing relationships, and so that's
sure.
something we can always use.
And on that note, I mean, having worked in the social service industry for about 7 or 8 years now, I know if I would have known about this type of work sooner, I would have done it sooner. Because to work with people who care and be alongside people that are caring people and are trying to grow, there's no comparison to any other industry. So
and really loving those kids.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if it weren't for caring about the kids, we wouldn't keep doing the group homes because there is no money in it. It's very stressful. It's hard to keep couples. It's hard having 10 kids that have had a lot of trauma in their lives.
Yeah.
But if we don't do it, they're not going to be going in a home where they're going to hear about Jesus and have people that know Jesus that are pouring into them and loving them and building them up. So it's really, when I see the kids that have come back 20 years later, they're doing great. You realize, wow, pouring into somebody like that makes such a difference. Sometimes you don't see it for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Tian, for joining us. Yeah, that's Tian Kennedy with Gap Ministries. Go to gapmin.com to make that end of the year tax-free donation to this amazing organization. And in my opinion, one of the greatest nonprofits in the world. So this is the Common Good Radio Show brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. I'm Pastor John McClain here with Andreas Ruiz. You have a very Merry Christmas and God bless you.